In the hidden corridors of global power, a single handshake can send shockwaves across oceans. Now, one such tremor is shaking the world. China, the unstoppable titan of the East, has accepted Indonesia's unexpected offer. The consequences are set to reshape the future of Asia and perhaps the fate of the world itself. Whispers of new alliances, secret negotiations, and seismic shifts in global influence are no longer distant echoes. They are here, and they are real. The question is no longer if change is coming. It's how soon and how devastating it will be. Stay with us as we uncover the world-shifting implications of China's bold move and why the world's major powers are holding their breath. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Because what you're about to hear might just shock you. Now, let's break it down. A shocking diplomatic gamble. What Indonesia offered China? Few could have predicted the boldness of Indonesia's latest diplomatic maneuver. The world's fourth most populous nation, emerging powerhouse in Southeast Asia, has stepped directly into the arena of great power competition. In a move that stunned many observers, Jakarta extended a groundbreaking offer to Beijing: expanded military cooperation, deeper integration into China's Belt and Road Initiative, and access to Indonesia's critical reserves of rare earth minerals. In return, Indonesia sought strategic assurances, specifically a pledge of non-interference in its domestic affairs and support for its territorial claims across its sprawling archipelago. This high-stakes offer, quietly negotiated through back channels over several months, only came to light after Chinese officials gave strong signals of acceptance. Now, regional analysts and global policymakers are scrambling to decode the deeper implications behind the carefully choreographed diplomatic smiles. Indonesia's geography makes it uniquely critical. Sitting astride the Malacca Strait, the narrow passage through which about one-third of global trade, including vital energy supplies, transits, Indonesia controls one of the most strategic maritime choke points on the planet. Its decision to court Beijing directly, on terms so sweeping, signals a tectonic shift. Southeast Asia is no longer a mere prize in the contest between global powers. It is a player shaping the rules of the game. Indonesia's move carries calculated risks. It potentially alienates traditional partners like the United States, Japan, and Australia, who have long viewed Indonesia as a counterweight to China's rising influence. Yet, Jakarta appears determined to chart an independent course, leveraging its natural resources, strategic location, and economic clout to extract maximum advantage. The rare earth minerals vital for technologies from smartphones to advanced weaponry add another layer of strategic importance. With global demand surging, Indonesia's willingness to offer China privileged access could tip the scales in Beijing's favor in the race for technological dominance. However, this diplomatic gamble could easily backfire. Over-reliance on Chinese investment and political goodwill could expose Indonesia to economic coercion or political pressure down the line. Indonesian leaders must now navigate a delicate balance, reaping the benefits of engagement without surrendering their hard-won sovereignty. One thing is clear: the world can no longer afford to overlook Indonesia. Its bold diplomatic gamble has reshaped the regional landscape, and the echoes of this decision will reverberate far beyond Southeast Asia. Why China said yes: strategic necessities and calculated risks. For Beijing, Indonesia's offer arrived at the perfect moment and was too vital to refuse. Under mounting pressure from the United States, Japan, Australia, and India, the coalition known as the Quad China finds itself facing an increasingly contested maritime environment. The South China Sea, once seen by Beijing as its near waters, is now filled with warships and surveillance aircraft from rival powers. In this context, accepting Indonesia's proposal grants China something it desperately needs: enhanced legitimacy and strategic leverage in the ongoing disputes. Indonesia, with its commanding position over the Malacca Strait and adjacent waters, offers China a critical geopolitical buffer. Securing closer ties with Jakarta reduces China's exposure to maritime choke points and provides a diplomatic counterweight against Quad encroachment. Indonesia's engagement sends a powerful signal. Not every major Southeast Asian nation will automatically side with Washington. Economically, the stakes are equally high. China's 17 trillion economy remains heavily dependent on uninterrupted shipping routes for its exports and energy imports. A cooperative Indonesia helps ensure the safe passage of goods and insurance policy against blockades or disruptions. Perhaps even more crucial is the rare earths agreement. Indonesia holds vast deposits of nickel, cobalt, and other rare materials essential for electric vehicles, advanced electronics, and next-generation military technologies. Gaining preferential access to these resources could propel China's ambition to dominate future industries, from green energy to artificial intelligence. Yet this acceptance is not without risks. Beijing must tread carefully to avoid provoking nationalist backlash within Indonesia or inadvertently alienating other ASEAN nations wary of Chinese expansionism. In the delicate balance of diplomacy and power projection, China has made a calculated gamble betting that the rewards of Indonesian partnership outweigh the dangers. Rising fears across the Asia-Pacific. The ripple effects of Indonesia's strategic pivot were immediate and chilling. Within hours of the news breaking, defense ministries in Tokyo, Canberra, and New Delhi convened emergency meetings. Intelligence analysts scrambled to reassess threat matrices. In Washington, caught flat-footed by the speed of events, senior officials issued carefully worded statements expressing concern about the changing security landscape in Southeast Asia. Beneath the cautious diplomatic language lurks a stark and growing anxiety, fear. Fear that China's new partnership with Indonesia could grant Beijing de facto control over the Indo-Pacific's most vital maritime arteries. Fear that the traditional balance of power long upheld by U.S. military and diplomatic primacy might be unraveling before their eyes. The strategic stakes could not be higher. According to the International Maritime Bureau, over 90 zero commercial vessels transit Southeast Asian waters every year, carrying goods, energy supplies, and raw materials essential to the global economy. Disruption or coercive control over these routes would not merely slow commerce, it could cripple entire national economies, trigger inflationary shocks, and destabilize financial markets worldwide. For Australia and Japan, both heavily dependent on seaborne trade, the prospect of a Beijing-Jakarta axis is particularly alarming. In India, fears of Chinese encirclement already heightened by tensions along the Himalayan border are now expanding into maritime concerns. Meanwhile, ASEAN nations find themselves caught in an uncomfortable squeeze, fearful of China's growing power, yet equally wary of becoming pawns in a larger Cold War-style confrontation. The Asia-Pacific is entering a dangerous new era. And for the first time in decades, Washington's unipolar moment in the region looks genuinely endangered. Indonesia's calculations, beyond survival, toward greatness. For decades, Indonesia skillfully navigated a path of strategic ambiguity, maintaining friendly relations with all powers while entangling itself with none. But as global tensions intensify, neutrality now risks looking like weakness. In a world where hesitation can invite coercion, Jakarta under President Prabowo Subianto has made a bold decision to move from survival to ambition. Prabowo envisions Indonesia not merely as a regional actor, but as a future global heavyweight. With a GDP projected to surpass 4 trillion by 2045 and the sweeping minimum essential force military modernization plan gaining momentum, Indonesia is positioning itself for greatness. It understands that a passive stance would only see others carve up the region's future without its voice being heard. By offering China access on carefully negotiated terms, Indonesia signals its intent to command respect, not obedience. Jakarta is telling the world it will not be a pawn in the new great game between Washington and Beijing. It will be its own player, charting its own course, however stormy the waters ahead. Hidden dangers. Risks of dependency and backlash. Yet, even as Indonesia stakes its claim to a bolder destiny, lurking dangers threaten to derail its ambitions. History offers grim warnings. China's Belt and Road Initiative, though praised for delivering infrastructure, has also left behind debt traps and sovereignty compromises from Sri Lanka's Hambantota port to strategic assets in Africa. Indonesia must tread carefully to avoid repeating those mistakes. Senior Indonesian officials, speaking off the record, have voiced deep concerns about potential over-reliance on Chinese investment and expertise. The fear is simple yet profound. that economic entanglements could evolve into political leverage and, ultimately, into infringements on national sovereignty. Already, signs of resistance are surfacing. Across Indonesia's outer islands, protests have erupted against Chinese-backed projects. Local communities complain of environmental degradation, loss of local jobs, and an unsettling cultural encroachment. Nationalist voices warn that economic deals today could lead to political compromises tomorrow. Jakarta's gamble is audacious, but it is not without peril. The line between strategic partnership and strategic entrapment is perilously thin. Global power shift. The new Indo-Pacific order. Indonesia's acceptance of China's offer has done more than realign. Two-nation sit has triggered the dawn of a new Indo-Pacific order, one where U.S. dominance is no longer guaranteed. According to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, China's influence in Southeast Asia has already risen by 45% since 2015. Analysts warn that with Indonesia now leaning toward Beijing, that figure could surge past 60% by 2030. This tectonic shift reshapes the strategic map of the region and the world. Regional powers like Vietnam, Malaysia, and the Philippines, already wary of China's growing assertiveness, now find themselves cornered. Alliances once thought stable are fraying. Military planners in Hanoi, Kuala Lumpur, and Manila are fast-tracking defense modernization, scrambling to recalibrate security strategies before it's too late. An arms race looms ominously on the horizon. Defense budgets are swelling, submarine deals, drone fleets, and missile defense systems are no longer luxuries, they are necessities. Meanwhile, the dream of an Asian NATO and alliance of democracies countering Beijing's ambitions faces its gravest challenge yet. If Jakarta, once considered a neutral giant, moves deeper into China's orbit, it could fracture any hope of a unified front. The Indo-Pacific's balance of power is shifting swiftly and dangerously. The untold economic stakes. Beneath the roaring engines of geopolitics lies another equally ferocious battlefield: economics. Indonesia's vast mineral wealth, especially its colossal nickel reserves, the largest on Earth, has become a strategic prize. Nickel is indispensable for electric vehicle (EV) batteries, and the global EV market is projected to surpass 1.1 trillion by 2030. By securing privileged access to Indonesia's resources, China cements its already commanding lead in EV production. This isn't just a head start, it's a potential stranglehold on the future of transportation and green technology. Western companies, already playing catch-up in the EV race, now face an even bleaker reality: dwindling raw material access, soaring costs, and falling competitiveness. The stakes extend far beyond cars. They reach into global supply chains, technology markets, and future economic leadership. The great power contest isn't fought only in boardrooms or battlefields. It's waged in the mines of Sulawesi, the railways of Kalimantan, and the ports of Sumatra. The future is being written in iron, nickel, and ambition. Military implications. A new maritime reality. Perhaps most alarming of all are the military consequences now unfolding. Recent satellite imagery, analyzed by the Asia Maritime Transparency Initiative, reveals a sharp uptick in Chinese naval movements near Indonesian waters. Warships that once stayed safely distant now venture closer, under the thin veil of freedom of navigation or joint exercises. Discussions about formal military cooperation, once unthinkable in Jakarta's halls of power, are now out in the open. If China succeeds in establishing semi-permanent naval access to Indonesian ports, particularly in locations near the Malacca Strait, it would constitute a strategic masterstroke. Beijing would gain a southern flank advantage, effectively outmaneuvering U.S. bases in Guam, Okinawa, and Darwin. For Washington, this is a nightmare scenario. The Pentagon's Pacific Deterrence Initiative, funded at over $9 billion annually, risks becoming reactive rather than preventive, chasing shadows instead of shaping events. The echoes of history are unmistakable. In an age where global trade and military power are defined by control of the seas, the Indo-Pacific may once again become the arena where the fate of nations is decided. Regional reactions. Allies in disarray. The shockwaves are already tearing through Asia-Pacific alliances. Australia, sensing the shifting tides, has fast-tracked its acquisition of nuclear-powered submarines under the AUKUS Pact with the United States and the United Kingdom. Japan, traditionally cautious, has announced a staggering 26% increase in its defense budget, the largest since World War II, signaling a profound transformation in its strategic posture. Even traditionally neutral states like Singapore are quietly boosting their military cooperation with Western powers, hedging against uncertainty. Fear of abandonment, fear of encirclement, fear of an unstoppable China. These anxieties now ripple across the region, pulsing through capitals from Hanoi to Manila like electricity before a gathering storm. Diplomats speak in hushed tones of a new arms race, a race not for conquest, but for survival. As one senior official in Hanoi put it bluntly, "The world is changing and we must change with it or be swept aside." The Asia-Pacific order is not merely evolving, it is unraveling and being rewoven into something far more volatile and far more dangerous. What happens next? War, peace, or a new Cold War? The path ahead is murky and perilous. Will China and Indonesia's cooperation stabilize the region or provoke new conflicts? Will smaller nations band together to resist domination or be drawn into the gravitational pull of Beijing's orbit? One thing is clear. The acceptance of Indonesia's offer is not merely a new chapter in world geopolitics. It is a new book, altogether one written with ink, that bleeds tension, ambition, and uncertainty. Only time will reveal whether the world stands on the brink of a renaissance of cooperation or the edge of catastrophe. The world holds its breath, the tides of history surge, and beneath the crashing waves, the future is being forged. What happens next will define a generation. If you found this urgent geopolitical analysis valuable, subscribe now, like this video, and share your voice in the comments below. Stand with us as we uncover the hidden currents shaping our world. Thank you for watching and stay vigilant.